Okay, welcome to our Woodland Pond Forum for New Paltz and County candidates. We've done quite a few of these in the past, so this time we have more candidates than we've ever had before. We have 13, and I'll introduce them starting from this end. On this side are the Democrats and other parties, but there's so many other parties that I'm just going to introduce the ones you've heard of before. Some people I've been asked to explain. I think I've said this before. In New Paltz, sometimes Democrats run for Republican Party positions, and sometimes vice versa. So there are some that are in more than one candidate. They're in more than one party, but tonight and on election day, they're going by the party that they are going to be listed with on the ballot. Okay, Hector Rodriguez, our county legislator, and he is running uncontested for county legislator, but I asked him to come so he can tell you a little bit about what he does and what they do. Elliot Auerbach is our county controller, and he is running again for the seat, and his opponent will be Linda McDonough. Jonathan Katz is running for town justice, and he is already our town justice, but he's running again against Richard LaRose. Chris Marks is our highway superintendent, who many of you have met, and I'm sure you'll have some questions for him. And also for highway superintendent is Fred Vitterius. For Dan Torres is running for town council, also known as town board, and he has not been a town board member before, but he has been a school board member, young as he looks. But he has been a school board member in New Paltz. Well, I will also introduce Jeff Logan, who is also a current town council member, and running against them is Ray Lunati, who wants you to know he is a Democrat, but he's running on the Republican line. Any other lines, Ray? No, okay. And last but not least are Susan Zimmett and Randall Leverett, who are running for town supervisor, and they have both been known in the past to have tried to run on the opposing party line. So we want you to know that does that make us a nonpartisan community or a multi-partisan community? And now I will turn this over, last of all, we'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for lending us their board president, named Frank Curcio, who some of you may know. And Frank, I'm going to give this to you now. Thank you very much for doing this, Frank.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Dorothy, you did a great job. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to be this evening's moderator. My name is Frank Curcio, and I'm the chair of the board of the New Paltz Regional Chamber of Commerce. And I just wanted to remind everybody that this is not a debate. This is an opportunity for us to get to know our candidates and know what their positions are. There will be opportunities for you to ask questions. We will pass around cards during the talk so that you can fill out cards and ask questions. We are on a tight schedule this evening because we have so many people participating this evening, which is really wonderful. We want to make sure that we keep within the time limits, but don't rush. So make sure that you speak clearly and not too fast, because our audience, some of them listen slow. So we want to make sure that they understand you and hear everything you say, because I'm sure it's very important. Remember, many in the audience have moved to New Paltz recently, so where we may have been dealing with these issues for a long time, they may not be aware of many of the issues that we're going to talk about this evening. So again, try to be concise in what we're talking about. We're going to go for 3 minutes for each candidate to talk a little bit about themselves and let us know who they are and what their positions are. So we're gonna start, Dorothy, which end would you like me to start on?
I think we could start with the county, but actually, let's start with the supervisor.
Let's start with the supervisors, okay.
Would you like to start with the supervisor? We'll start with the county legislatures, and you first one and then the other, and then alternate.
Okay, so we'll start at the county level, is that what you wanna do? Okay. So, okay, so
Well, you know what?
I'm gonna get the microphones, hold on one second.
Good evening. I guess I'll go first. So, I was joking before with a few of you. When you're running unopposed, the more you talk, the more votes you're going to lose. So, I'm going to try to be brief. I really want to make sure we dedicate enough time for the town candidates. But I'm Hector Rodriguez. I am your county legislator, and I welcome the opportunity to speak to as many of you as possible, maybe afterwards. I've been in the legislature for 10 years, and during that time, I've grown older and lost some more hair, probably a little bit more than I intended. But during the course of that 10 years, I can honestly just tell you how much county government has been transformed, how much more efficient it is, and how much better we are at managing your money, managing really the trust of the county at this point. We have gone and delivered a budget where we actually were able to deliver a negative tax increase, a return of some of the money to the levy. It was very small. And this year, we're looking at continuing that trend, continuing to contain spending to be able to deliver as many services as possible. Apparently, I also have 1 minute, so I'm going to be very, very brief. The last thing, I guess, that I'll probably just mention, I'm just going to kind of preemptively bring this up, is the New Paltz Loop. It's actually one of the services that the county works with the municipality on delivering to the people here in New Paltz. It's one of our most successful programs that we've ever run in transit. We are working from the county's end with the town on being able to get a stop here at Woodland Pond, even as a trial. And that was something that we committed ourselves to 2 years ago, and that we are still committed to doing. Unfortunately, government doesn't work as quickly as we like. I know that there's been a committee process with the partners who are SUNY New Paltz, the town of New Paltz. From the county's end, we provide the buses and the bus drivers, and I'm really looking forward to actually getting some headway on this issue, because I know that I remain as committed as all of you to being able to see your faces in downtown New Paltz. So, thank you. Did I make it in time? You did great.
Before I introduce anyone else,
Is Ken Wichnick in the audience? I forgot to introduce you sooner. We have 2 legislators from New Paltz. In the past, we always voted for 2. This year, we're only voting for 1 because Hector we're in District 17, am I right?
You're in District 20.
We're in District 20, see? Even I don't know. Okay, you are in District 17, which is another district.
Right.
So we don't get to vote for Ken. And where's Butch? And Butch, Ken is the Democratic nominee, and Butch is the, it's all right,
Independent and conservative.
independent and conservative nominee.
Working families also.
And you're the working families, and, okay. So, and I also, there was somebody else here I was going to introduce. Marianne, no, Marianne is one of the candidates, right? Okay. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna stay at the county level, and we'll go down to Marianne Mizell.
Is this on? Hi, everyone. My name is Miriam Mizell. I'm Ulster County Family Court Judge. I've been Ulster County Family Court Judge. I'm in my 20th year, 2 terms. And I'm seeking my 3rd 10-year term. As a judicial candidate, I am not allowed to speak about my position on cases, or either in my court or nationally or anywhere else. I can only speak about my record. And in terms of that, I will tell you that the preceding 19 years that I've been a judge, I have handled 44,500 cases. I have had only 7 reversals of my decisions, and I have had 9 of my decisions published either in law reports or journals to be relied upon by other judges and lawyers as precedent. Family court is a court of limited jurisdiction. We handle neglect and abuse cases against parents or persons responsible for children. We handle juvenile delinquency, which is the criminal cases against children, and PINS cases, which are persons in need of supervision. We handle the domestic violence cases, and we handle modifications and new custody and visitation cases. However, I am also acting Supreme Court judge, and I handle 4% of the matrimonials in Ulster County, so I also do divorces. I happen to very much love, oh, and I forgot, the favorite part of my job is adoptions. I love adoptions. So, I want to tell you that I love my job. There is a lot of gut-wrenching stuff that we do there, but there are also very rewarding things that make it all absolutely worthwhile. As a judicial candidate, I need to tell you that I have to drop out of politics. I can only run around politicking in the window of my election period, and that's why you don't get to see me afterwards. And that is why it's very important for me to at least let you see what I look like and to know who is representing you or who is up there in the family court representing and being your judge. As I indicated, I happen to love my job. I am a local yokel. Professor Jessup was one of my professors at SUNY New Paltz, which is where I graduated, and she forgot to introduce me, but that's all right. I currently reside in Ulster Park. My husband's raised in Hurley. I was raised in Eddyville, which is between Rosendale and Kingston. And I love my community. I think we do a lot of good work there, and I would very much appreciate your support for another 10-year term. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll go down to the other end now, to Elliot Auerbach.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Professor, for putting this together. I appreciate that. Thank you, Frank, for moderating this, because I think you're in the most unenviable position of telling people to sit down and shut up. And you know, thanks to many of you who are here tonight, specifically some of my friends who I get to see every once in a while when I come onto your lovely campus, and that's Annette Feinstone, and also Renee Sachs. Now, I just will tell you a quick story about Renee so you can truly find out the answers to what my office does, because Renee has been kind enough over the course of the last 3 years to volunteer as part of our advisory committee. And she sits with my staff and myself 4 times a year and keeps us in line, so she truly knows the inner workings of the controller's office. It's probably one of the most misunderstood offices in Ulster County. The controller and the county executive really started as a result of a new charter, which was adopted and put into effect in 2008. And the reason why that charter was truly driven to be in place was that there was a lot of mismanagement of money prior to that. And if you recall, those of you who were here before, there was a tremendous amount of overspending and trouble with our jail to the tune of millions of dollars. And the taxpayers of Ulster County felt that they had no one to hold accountable to ensure that their money was being well spent. Therefore, they went ahead and put a charter in place, voted for it, passed it, and put in the office of the controller and the county executive. I'm currently in my 2nd term as controller, finishing it up and running for my 3rd term. It's controller, C-O-M-P-T-R-O-L-L-E-R, and we like to say that the MP stands for money police, because that's what we do. We look after your money. We ensure that the care, custody, and control of your money is in the safe place as taxpayers of Ulster County. But enough about the Ulster County Controller. Let me tell you a little about myself. I grew up in Ellenville. I was born and bred in Ulster County. Went away to school at Hofstra University, got my undergraduate degree there, did some graduate studies at Hofstra, as well as SUNY New Paltz and Long Island University. Met my wife there, who was a dancer at the Juilliard School, and convinced her that Ellenville was paradise. And I know, and that I was rich, and she will leave both of them and move back with me. So we raised 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. 2 of my kids are attorneys, married to attorneys, so you can imagine what Thanksgiving dinner is like around my house. And I'm the grandfather of 2, one as recently as last month, a little boy. That being said, I was in business for 20 years with my parents. That's what brought me back here. And probably the most amazing sidebar effect to that was really getting to know my parents in an adult situation. Growing old with them, watching them grow old, being able to work alongside them and help them and be the caregiver at the end of both of their lives that they needed. That being said, I appreciate your support. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And we look forward to you voting on November 5th. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Ellen. If you'd like, there's some seats up front here if you'd like to sit down. Okay. And now we're going to move to Linda McDonough.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to also thank everybody for being here tonight and for Dorothy for putting this together and giving us a place to be able to speak and tell how we feel about what we're running for. I am Linda McDonough. I am your candidate for Ulster County Comptroller on the Republican, Conservative, and Independence lines. A little bit about myself. I have 38 years experience in accounting and auditing. I have been doing that the better part of my life at this point. I have worked with CPA firms. I've worked with corporate, not-for-profit, and governmental agencies. In all of those, I have done the accounting and auditing for. I'm a graduate of John A. Coleman High School. I finished school, graduated, and went right into working with my parents in a electronics industry, of which we were the major distributor for Channel Master in Ellenville. I have 3 sons that are all grown and living in Ulster County and Dutchess County at this point. I'm the widow of a New York State Corrections Officer. So that's a little bit about myself. As far as the Office of the Comptroller, what I bring to it is 38 years of accounting and auditing. What I see is a way to do things a little bit differently. Prior to the charter form of government, I was deputy auditor for the county, and a lot of the duties and responsibilities that went forth with the auditor's position were rolled into the comptroller's position. Now, the auditor's position was not there for very long before we went to the charter form of government. And my opponent is correct. In years past, things were done quite differently. So the legislators and the administration, it was a whole different set of rules back then. And that did lead to some complications and some problems. Now, under the comptroller's office, the comptroller is charged with independent oversight and with a clearly defined set of duties to accomplish while in office. Some of those include issuing quarterly reports, doing audits for the different departments, and rooting out waste and abuse and errors. They're also responsible for, is that my time up?
Yeah, another 30 seconds.
They're also responsible for certifying and auditing all payments before payments are made, so that there can't be any mismanagement, there can't be any errors in the payments being made. So since my time is about up, that's just a short version of what the Comptroller's Office does. I look for your support, but more importantly, just be sure you get out and vote and have your say in who's getting elected in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Dorothy, I just wanted to ask you real quick, did you want to hand out the cards? Is someone handing out the cards for questions now? Vicky, okay. Vicky's,
I thought we'd do it after they hear everyone speak.
okay,
And then there are other questions that
Okay.
come.
all right, so after everyone speaks, then we'll do that. Okay, very good. So next we're gonna go to this side and Chris. Oh, Judge Katz, okay. I'm gonna skip on, I'm just following my list. So we're gonna go to Judge Katz on the other side there.
Good evening. I became town justice just over 18 years ago. Some of you, if you lived here back then, knew Rex Schneider. Rex Schneider retired in July of 1995. Dave Lent was our supervisor at that time. The board appointed me, and I have been serving for the past 18 years. I grew up in Chicago, came here and married my lovely wife Nancy, who grew up here in New Paltz. I graduated of the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire with a major in history and political science, and I went to Syracuse University Law School. Most of you, well, probably none of you actually, when I think about it, looking out here to see if I've seen any of you in court. just Butch there, Butch, she's some of the best stuff. Anyway, the New Paltz Court, we handle every criminal case initially anyway, every crime that happens in New Paltz, the prosecution begins in New Paltz, the felonies eventually go to county court. So we handle all the misdemeanors, violations, the traffic matters, civil matters, landlord and tenant. It's one of the busiest courts in the state of New York. I attend continuing judicial education every year, 16 hours of mandatory judicial education. I've been doing that for 18 years. Like all of the other town justices in the state, we're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to handle arraignments when people are arrested at hours, sometimes on family court warrants. Not very often, but sometimes we're called out in the middle of the night to handle those. We're available 24 hours a day to sign warrants. I would appreciate your support for yet another term.
Thank you very Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And just remember, speak directly into the mic because it sometimes doesn't work if you don't do that. And now we're going to talk to Richard LaRosa, please.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for inviting us into your home to let you know a little bit about ourselves, what we're about. Like many of you, as Ms. Jessup alluded to, I'm a relative newcomer to New Paltz. I've been here about 2.5 years. I live in the village, and I've been a practicing attorney for about 15 years now. In that time, I've appeared in court as far north as Plattsburgh and as far south as White Plains. And over the last 15 years, I've been a lot of these places, and I see both the good and the bad in how a lot of these courts in our state are run. And I believe that with that experience, I can take, hopefully, the best of what we see and what we have seen from Plattsburgh to Westchester County and bring it here. A little bit about me personally. I grew up in Potsdam, New York, a small college town, not unlike New Paltz, in the northern part of our state. I enjoyed my time there very much. Accordingly, I went to university about 10 miles away, a little place called St. Lawrence University, and from there I went to law school in Springfield, Massachusetts. I've never been a judge. I can't stand here and profess to have been, but as I've said, over the years, I've been a lot of places and I've seen what I would term to be some inefficiencies in the judicial system. I've not been before Judge Katz. I've not been in his court, so I can't tell you how he runs it. The gentleman has been on the bench 18 years, as he has said. But I think that, as with everything, a little bit of change, a breath of fresh air can be good for the community. I think I bring that. And I just wanted to, again, thank you very much for the opportunity to come in here and say hello to everybody and let you know a little bit about who I was and what I was about. Thank you.
Now we'll go to this side to Chris Marks.
Sorry, I have to read from my notes. Good evening. My name is Chris Marks. Sorry. I'm a resident of New Paltz for the past 49 years, a graduate in New Paltz School District, and for a decade have worked for the town of New Paltz. 2 of those years as your highway superintendent. Prior to working for the highway department, I worked for 20 years in the excavation, construction, and trucking industry. In this industry, I worked on projects such as road rebuilding, drainage, repair, box culvert construction, water, sewer installation. I am trained as a heavy equipment operator, have light and medium truck and equipment mechanical experience. I also have a Class A truck license. I have 6 years of fiscal and administrative business as a local business owner dealing with budgets, contracts, and labor negotiations. As your highway superintendent, I've attended over 100 hours of Cornell cooperative training related to all forms of highway construction, drainage, snow and ice removal, and the budget process. I have also had hours of legal training pertaining to the powers and duties of a highway superintendent. I am NIMS trained, which is a requirement for highway superintendents in New York State, and am certified in confined space, which is important in doing memorial, pool, and water main breaks. For the past 2 years as your highway superintendent, I have put all my road construction and fiscal experience to work for you, the taxpayers of New Paltz. This has enabled me to merge our water, sewer, buildings and grounds department with our highway department for a savings of over $200,000 and to maximize our workforce. I have fostered working relationships and will continue to do so with surrounding towns, county, and village DPWs to further save our road projects. One example is the old 299 bridge. Working with the town of Lloyd, which is now completed, after being on the work schedule for over 8 years, this bridge came in at a savings of $30,000 under budget. I secured a stream bank rehabilitation grant for the repairs on Doug Road, which saved the town a substantial amount of money. My experience in water and sewer, along with being familiar with the town's infrastructure, has enabled me to realize a savings of $14,000 at our sewer 6 plant. In conclusion, my 30 years of experience on roads, water, sewer, drainage, snow and ice removal, along with my 8 years of fiscal experience, 2 of those in municipal budgeting, have helped the town deliver a total budget reduction of 4.5% for taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Fred Vitarius.
Good evening. My name is Fred Vitarius, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm much more of a doer than a talker, so I'll make this as painless as possible. I'm 43 years old, married with a daughter in New Paltz senior at New Paltz High School. I have lived here my whole life with deep roots in the community dating back to Huguenot Street. A candidate with over 20 years of continuous highway maintenance experience and would like to be your next town highway superintendent. In 1990, I became an employee of the Albany Bridge Corporation as a laborer, and for 5 years traveled throughout New York State rebuilding, rehabbing, and replacing many state and county bridges, including our very own Carmine-Liberta Bridge. With the impending birth of my child, I wanted to be home more, and started an 11-plus year career with the Ulster County Department of Highways and Bridges as a construction and equipment operator, clocking many endless hours of snow and ice removal to all phases of surface maintenance, many miles of drainage work, and countless driveway and road pipes installed. Led the county's guide rail crew in the repair and replacement of the county's guide rail system. I have been involved in the replacement, repair of head walls, steel erections, sandblasting, and painting of many of the county's bridges. I have also passed both the county section supervisor and bridge supervisor tests, ranking in the top 5. My current job of the past 6 years is a foreman for the Schmunk Supply Corporation, traveling throughout New York State, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, installing, repairing guide rail on state, county, and town village highways. Many bridge repairs and construction and installation of high flow maintenance arch pipes. 22 years in the business of public safety, from the roads you drive on to the bridges you cross. I know that when the voters entrust me with the highway department, there will be things that I don't know, and I believe that a first-time candidate, there are things that I just won't know. Fortunately, there are a great group of men and women that are working for the town, and I hope to rebuild a strong, respectful working relationship with them all to make the bumps easier. I would like to develop a mutually beneficial network between New Paltz and our surrounding communities, a kind of mutual aid, in order to ease the tax burden on us all. Using the right equipment to avoid overtime and needless costs, cutting down on our carbon footprint. In the past few weeks, I have had the pleasure of meeting with you, listening to you voice your concerns. I will try to do more in the coming days. I would like to let you know, and all the taxpayers know, that your comments are very important to me, and if elected, you can call me at home anytime, day or night. I'm here to serve you. And on November 5th, I hope that you will find that I'm the first highway guy to be elected here in a long time, and cast your vote for me, the man with the most experience. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So we're going to go to this side to Dan Torres.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming out, first of all.
Hold it, hold it.
Hold it a little, is this better?
Yes.
All right. My name is Daniel Torres. Just a little bit about myself. I'm running for town council here in New Paltz. I graduated from New Paltz schools. I've grown up here, been here my whole life. I went to Marist College. I graduated in May with a degree in communication and political science, and I'm currently a graduate student as well. I also just got engaged a few months ago to my fiance, who also lives in New Paltz as well. And it actually was a large part of the reason why I wanted to run for office and stay here. I admit that I am not as old as some of our other candidates. I'm not the traditional candidate, but I've never felt that New Paltz is a traditional community either. But I feel that the community has given me a lot. I was educated here, I've learned so much here, and even just the environment here has shaped who I am as a person. So it would have been easier to have started my life in another community and possibly less expensive as well. But I wanted to come here to raise a family and stay here and give back to a community that I feel has given me so much as well. And at the same token, I want to make sure that others have that opportunity too. I know it's not easy to live here. It's not as cheap as some of our other communities, and we pay a lot of money, but we get a lot of things in return as well. And I want to make sure that others have that opportunity to stay here too. So that's why I'm running. I hope I have your support. I'm also endorsed by the Democratic Party, Working Families Party, Independence Party, and through a petitioning process, I'm also the Bull Moose Party candidate as well. And just yesterday, I was endorsed by my friend Roy Sinchi as well, our former congressman. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now we'll go over to Ray Lenati.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ray Lenati. On November 5th, you will have three choices for town councilman. All of us are Democrats. I'm the only one on the Republican line. Let me tell you why you should vote for me. As a homeowner since 1999 in New Paltz, I'm a stakeholder and pay taxes like you. I want taxes to be low, yet have reliable services like ambulance, fire department, and police. I assure you, as a past volunteer fireman and ambulance driver, that I have experienced firsthand and have the knowledge as to what these departments need to better serve you. I assure you that adequate funding will be allocated to these emergency services. I am an active volunteer with our community's youth. In the New Paltz Baseball Association, I am a board of director, I am fields director, league director for Babe Ruth, and disciplinary committee member. Some of your grandchildren may have been on my team. I have life experience. These gray hairs came from a lot of years. We all say if we knew then what we knew now, then our decisions would be all good ones, and we'd all be lottery winners. I have empathy for those unlike myself, and lend an open ear or a hand when I'm able. I have integrity, and I am trustworthy. Presently, I am on the New York State Rising Communities Committee, which is working on bringing $9 million to the New Paltz community to better our resilience in weather-related hazards. Get to know the three candidates you have to choose from in this election. You will see, hands down, I am the only candidate who possesses these qualities. Vote for me, Ray Lenati, your town councilman.
Great, thank you. And now we're going to go back over to this side to Jeff Logan, who's also running for town council.
Thank you, and thank you, Frank, for putting this together, and Dorothy, thank you for putting this many candidates together in one room. I know it was kind of like herding cats, trying to get us all put together, so we appreciate it. Many of you probably know me, Jeff Logan. Some of you probably know me here as a town councilman. This will be my third term I'm running for. Some of you know me as a nurse. I've seen many of you as patients out at First Care Medical Center. Some of you may even know me as a business owner with my wife in New Paltz. We own a market down at Water Street Market down at the bottom of New Paltz. And one person is lucky enough here to know me as their nephew, like Aunt Mary Lou. So, thank you very much for coming in, Mary Lou. So, it was said in the very beginning, I thought it was interesting, a lot of you haven't lived here a long time. I don't know if I've lived here a long time or not. My children here, my wife and I have 3 kids. They're 5th generation New Paltz. And I've been a Democrat here back when New Paltz had 2 Democrats. I see one of them sitting here too. And one was my dad and someone else sitting here. So you come here saying, you know, you might be new to the community, but I don't think our problems are unique. I think where you all come from is our problems are not here. You've heard many of these candidates speak to them. And it's what does it cost to live in a community? And what can we afford to keep the community we all want to live in? You had our county legislator here talk to you about providing better transportation services for all of you. This is something we do need to do, and at what cost can we afford to do it? You're looking at a board, 2 board members here, myself and Susan, both on the board that have worked very, very hard on keeping all the services that we all enjoy in this community at a cost, again, we can all afford. How is Woodland Ponds part of the community? I think one of the most beautiful things I've seen recently, it was just beautiful that a deck was built along with this community, along with the Ruderhoff community, to overlook really what is the largest single park we now have in New Paltz. The only larger park that we have is actually the rail trail, and hopefully we can connect those. We can, with Mr. Rodriguez saying yes, I'm gonna hold him to that. You know, that is a park we want to see developed even greater. And this is why most of you have moved here, I believe. This is why I live here, and this is why you see all these people here. The sheer beauty our community provides, and we need to provide a community. Still not sure how I'm going to respond to Dan about saying that we're older. We're going to work on that one. But yeah, how we can afford to have families like Dan stay here and grow up here and be a vital part of our community. So I thank all of you for choosing New Paltz to come and live. And we hope we can keep this as a community that you'll all enjoy to stay in. Thank you very much. And again, I'm Jeff Logan, and any questions, I think we're going to be staying afterwards for a little while to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Dan. Susan, did you want to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
Jeff, thanks.
Oh, I mistook you for being the younger one, that's why.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I guess I have to put my glasses on. Thank you for joining us tonight. Many of you know me from the directors' meetings where Chris and I have spoken on the connector road, the gate, and your neighbors next door. During the question segment, I am sure I will be asked questions, and I will be happy to answer it at that time. I entered local politics in 1995 when there were plans to build a Walmart at the entrance of our community. I worked with a group of community activists, many who are in this room tonight, and together we actually stopped the Walmart, the first one in the state of New York. I was an underdog, but I won, and quickly established myself as a leader in the environment, property tax reform, and open government, and much more. During that time, we worked really hard on the budget because that's my #1 priority, is making you be able to afford to live here. We held taxes down every year. We cut $200,000 from the budget, which was not an easy task. We had an audit by the New York State Controller, and the Controller did it very quickly, in contrast to what I'm going to talk about towards the end. The Controller did an audit, and when he got done, he actually said during the exit interview, when Helen Carson, my Republican deputy supervisor, I was a Democrat, told us it was the best managed town he'd ever seen in New York State. Quite a compliment to us. I was asked to run for county legislator in 2003, and there I continued my work on open government, environmental protection, and a wealth of other good government agenda items. It was around this time that I was asked by Dorothy Jessup, at the same time a board member for Woodland Pond, at the same time a litigator who was suing Woodland Pond, asked me if I would get involved and try to settle the lawsuit so Woodland Pond could get built. Working with Dorothy, working with Dave Porter and the other people from the other side, we worked really hard at Woodland Pond, and eventually we settled the lawsuit and Woodland Pond got built. It was quite an interesting time, and thank you, Dorothy, for engaging me in it. Interestingly, part of the settlement was a $50,000 wetland fund, because the lawsuit was about the wetlands and trying to get the building out of the wetlands. So we got a $50,000 wetland fund, and interestingly, we've just recently used that fund to actually protect our wetland lawsuit. I worked on veterans issues and built a veterans cemetery in Ulster County with the help of Carol Roper and Rod Dressel, one of my greatest accomplishments, right down on Plains Road. Please go and see it. worked on other issues for veterans to protect them when they came back from war from depleted uranium, got a thing passed in the state legislature that started in Austin County in our legislature, working with Hector Rodriguez. I worked on the state level to ban hydrofracking, a leader on the state in hydrofracking, but didn't stop at the state, brought it down here in Ulster County as a legislator. I banned hydrofracking with the help of the legislature, so you can't do fracking on any county property. And we brought it to the town with the help of Councilman Logan and my other board members, no fracking in New Paltz. Okay, more seconds? Okay, we've been working really hard on a lot of things. One of my greatest goals right now is we're gonna be doing a comprehensive master plan with the town and the village. That's very exciting, and I've talked to you here at Woodland Ponds about the conflict with the town and the village, and you're experiencing firsthand right now. We have a lot of great things we've been doing, and a lot of great things we're going to be doing. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Great, thank you, Susan. And now we'll go to Randall Leverett.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be back. Thank you, Dorothy, for inviting me back again. My name is Randall Leverett. I grew up in a close-knit family in Baltimore. We were a political family. My cousin was Clarence DeBurns. He got the nickname Do as a teenager when he became known as someone who was a doer, someone people came to count on to get things done. At a time when there were no black elected officials and with only a high school education, Dew was elected to the city council and eventually became the first black mayor of Baltimore City. In my family, it was understood that saying is one thing while doing is another. I grew up with an appreciation of what each of us as individuals can do to ensure we have a strong community. When I moved to New Paltz 16 years ago, I knew it was a special place. I retired after a career as a manager in multi-billion-dollar corporations where I earned a reputation for running efficient and productive operations. I looked for ways to use my successful management experience to serve my community. I have been on the police commission for more than 2 years and have chaired the commission since March of this year. But I've watched with growing alarm as the discourse in our local government becomes more and more contentious. I know hostility stifles collaboration and cooperation. I know this is a place where I can make a real difference. My campaign team is chock full of people from every political spectrum, and yet we work effectively together. I seek to do the same for everyone in New Paltz by bringing stability, collaboration, and transparency back to our community, back to our government. Many of these issues facing us seem complex, but I don't buy the idea that only the town supervisor is smart enough to understand them. Simple changes like writing the town budget in plain English will make the issues facing New Paltz transparent and even easy to understand. For example, none of you can look at the town budget today and tell me what the supervisor's salary is. You cannot see that it is significantly higher than it was 2 years ago. I've studied other town budgets. The town of Ulster's, for example, has so much clarity and detail about each and every expenditure, its employees, their salaries, retirement tier, and benefits. It includes a 3-year trend to show so that you can see at a glance if costs are up or down. This kind of transparency ensures successful board oversight and encourages public participation and comment because it's not complex. It is only with that level of transparency that we can begin to have intelligent discussions, build consensus, and set performance measures that make our government accountable. Anyone can take your money, sit on it for 2 years, then give it back to you come election time and call it a tax cut. That is not good government, and it is not a responsible way to manage your money. Thank you for listening, and now I look forward to listening to you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for all your comments. We appreciate that. You can applaud now if you like. Do you have any questions? The first questions that we're going to go through for this evening? Dorothy's going to give me the questions now so that I can ask them. But that was really a great job by everybody. Thank you very much. Okay, so these are for the supervisors. Okay, so we're going to get to the question portion of the evening, and just so all of you know, all questions must be handwritten and handed in. So raise your hand for cards, so we can, the monitor can come over and pick up your cards from you when you have them and have them written out. Also, remember that this is a nonpartisan forum and an informational forum, so please maintain appropriate respect for the candidates and save applause for the end. And we'll respect each other's time when we are giving our responses as well, so that everybody gets an opportunity to be heard. The first two questions are going to go to town supervisors and town board candidates. Randall, would you like to take the first question?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it?
No. They said okay. What is the relevance of New Paltz town government to residents at Woodland Pond? And what kind of issues come from the town board that affect us?
Well, I think the relevance to town government is, for me, I think the most important thing is the fact that the people in Woodland Pond are here in New Paltz. I think it's great that we have a community of seniors who are active and they participate in our community, much like the college students downtown. So it's great to see people out and about from Woodland Pond. I think town government is, it's hard to say exactly how town government impacts folks here at Woodland Pond. I haven't spent much time here with the folks at Woodland Pond, other than the times that I've come to run as a candidate, and I've talked to Dorothy. But I think what we do tax-wise is important to the folks at Woodland Pond, particularly because people here, some are on fixed income, so it's important that we keep taxes down, that we keep the community affordable. And that's something that I think is very, very relevant to the folks here at Woodland Pond. Our ability to respond to the community for emergency services is something that we do here in the town. So I think that also impacts Woodland Pond and how the town board operates and passes regulations, so that's helpful to Woodland Pond.
Great, thank you very much. Susan, I'll pose you the same question. Would you like me to reread the question for you?
No, I think I understand it very well.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you very well how town government affects Woodland Pond. How many times have you all seen me here at Woodland Pond over the past year and a half? Probably every 2-3 months? How many times have I been here?
Many times.
Many, many, many times. Not here campaigning for election. I've been here on what? The road, the loop bus, and a lot of other issues. So how does town government affect you? We've got a road that's about to be dedicated right next door. But people are very concerned about the impact of this road relative to Woodland Pond. We've been spending a year and a half working with the neighbors next door, working with Chris Moss, one of the best highway superintendents this town has ever seen. He is absolutely amazing. We've been working to figure out how do we get that road done, how do we get that road dedicated, how do we get you to be able to use that road, but still protect the people over on the other side from the traffic that's going to be coming and protecting their kids. We're doing everything we possibly can, from Chris doing road striping, and again, the town board with the help of Jeff Logan has supported this, doing road striping, stop signs. We're putting in street calming things in order to make sure that it's what, things are done. We're going to work with Woodland Pond to try to get a policy in place so the employees and the delivery trucks don't use that road. And we are hopefully, Thursday night, we are setting a public hearing. That's what the town does. We're setting a public hearing on no through truck traffic that we're putting next door, and and weight limits. So trucks that were above weight limits can't come on. We're doing that Thursday night. We're having a public hearing at our town board meeting, and then the following week we will probably be adopting it and getting the gate down and dedicating the road. We're intimately involved with you, and that's what the town board is there for. Whenever you have a problem or a question, to call, protect the environment, and do lots of other things.
Great, thank you, Susan. All right, you want to go to Jeff, you want to take that question as well? you want me to, I can repeat the question. What is the relevance of New Paltz town government to residents at Woodland Pond? And what kinds of issues come before the town board that affect us?
And I think, again, with Susan, and I'll be quicker than Susan because we can help move this along. But yeah, you know, Woodland Pond is an integral part of our community. I was on the town board after it had been approved, and then a lot of the services you receive here had to be negotiated going through the town. That would be your water, that would be your sewer, and other services, which would be the roads coming out here, negotiated through the town. And part of that, and we got some payment from that also from the developer of Woodland Pond, was to help all of you enjoy and our community enjoy the open space that is now behind Woodland Pond, that goes between Woodland Pond and goes out to the Duzine School and is bordered on the other side by Henry W. Du Bois, and that would be the Millbrook Preserve. How is that part of the town? You guys have, again, I think one of the greatest things I've seen was that beautiful stand that you put out there for everyone to enjoy in this community, and that will eventually connect to a system of trails that's going to go all through that park for everyone to enjoy. And that is what a town does. Government in a town and anywhere is designed to do for people what they can't do for themselves. Everyone here can't develop that into a park, but as a community, we can develop it into a park and will. So that is just one part, and I hope that answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll go over to Ray Lenati. Would you like me to repeat the question, Ray?
I think the town's responsibility to Woodland Pond is through emergency services. I had a gentleman who owned a vacant lot next to me. About 5 years ago, he called me up and he said, Ray, I want to build a house on the property that I have up there. He was from Long Island. And I've talked to him several times over the years, and I said, well, Stan, you know, you've talked about your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids, so I'm not thinking you're a very young man. He says, I'm 88. And I said, well, Stan, basically, if you move to New Paltz next to me, when you dial 911, it'll actually be my number. I am going to be your emergency response team, because there is no emergency services where I live on Springtown Road that are going to come out and help an elderly person. Now, Woodland Pond is set right next to the ambulance squad. We got Station 2, the fire company, and the police station down the road. So for me, the emergency services, when you need help, will be available to you from this town. And as a town councilman, I will ensure that they get the proper funding that they need to help save lives and provide service to Woodland Pond.
Great, thank you, Ray. Next to Dan Torres.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. So I don't want to be redundant because we've talked a lot about the same thing, so I'm going to answer this a little bit differently. Over the course of campaigning, I've knocked on probably close to 500 doors. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of people have great ideas, a lot of insight, but for various reasons they don't go out to government meetings. Whether that be not wanting to go in front of a forum like that or simply not having the time. So when we talk about things that government can do for you guys at Woodland Pond, I think a lot of it is listening and acting upon that. I know that a number of town representatives have come here. Well, in the city of Kingston, they have something called ward meetings, and that's where the aldermen will come and they'll meet at a local place, and they'll chat about various issues. There's no agenda, but they just sit down to see how you're doing and what your thoughts are on the community. You know, if elected, that's something that I would like to do here at Woodland Pond, and as well as at SUNY New Paltz and our other areas of our community. You guys have a different perspective than those at SUNY New Paltz or those that live on Springtown Road. And I think it's important and vital for government to go out and hear that perspective. So as your potential representative, one of the things I would like to do is directly come to you to hear about your concerns and what we can do to help fix that or help give you whatever services you do need. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dan. The next question will be for the county legislators and controller. If we could pass the mics down to them, that would be great. What do you consider the most important issue for Ulster County at present or in the near future? And we'll start with the county legislators.
Thank you. At the end of the day, the top priority for me is going to be the budget. The budget becomes the most important policy document that we produce as a body, because it basically defines those things that we're going to fund and those things that we can't fund. Right now, you guys honestly cannot hear me. Wow, that's okay. No, that has never been a problem in my entire life. I swear, I am the quiet one in the family. Apologies. So what I was saying was that the county budget is the most important thing that we do as legislators, because it is the ultimate policy document that affects everything else. If you want to look at the values of a legislative body, you look at its budget, because that's what it's funding. It's funding those programs. So in terms of keeping spending in line, in terms of figuring out ways to fund certain programs, like funding mental health, we had to kind of find an ingenious way to go and do that in a market in which we have declining revenues coming from the state. We're doing so in a situation in which we had the towns in desperate need of funding for safety net, which is welfare. That's something that is quirkily in Ulster County, was a town function for many years. Sales tax, which right now is very much threatened because of the actions of a certain person that I won't get into right now. But it's a huge, huge issue for us at the county level, because that sales tax money, that's money being spent by outsiders who help to go and keep our property taxes down. And I think that is probably by far for me the most important issue right now, is that in this environment in which the economy is sort of in between, it's good one moment, it's bad the other, keeping taxes down and keeping our programs fully funded has got to be our top priority.
Great, thank you, Hector. And now we'll go over to Linda. If you would answer, do you want me to reread the question, Linda?
No, I'm fine, thank you. I think for me as the comptroller candidate, the most important thing for the county would be to get in the office and to start issuing the reports that are supposed to be getting issued, to issue complete reports that have the comparisons and the assessments that are required in the charter, and to also make the recommendations necessary to the departments so that they can look at their budgets, they can look at how they're spending their money and see where they might cut down on the budget items or increase the revenue. Maybe they're not getting all the revenue that they're supposed to be getting. So by doing proper audits and certifying and auditing the payments, that would encompass everything that I just spoke about. And like I said, by doing that, that would be most helpful throughout the county and to the taxpayers, because you would then be able to see where your money's being spent. The comparisons on the reports would give you the opportunity to ask questions, but the audits, as I would perform them, would give you the answers. An audit should answer questions, not raise questions. So that's what I'm looking to do, and to me, as a numbers person, that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Linda. Elliot, would you like to take a question?
Thank you. During the course of our 57 months as the Ulster County Controller, we published over 50 reports. And one of the most upsetting reports that I had to publish was the foreclosures in Ulster County. Properties that were going up for sale after 3 years of property owners being unable to pay their taxes. It was daunting. So that directed my attention to really what the root of the issue here in most of the places, most of the towns in Ulster County is, and that's our property tax structure. We look at homeowners who are bearing the burden of a tremendous amount of cost of government. That includes school tax, town tax, and county tax. And how can we best affect that? We call the program in our office PORT, P-O-R-T, Property Owners Relief from Taxes. And what we're finding is that folks, very much like you, are unable to meet those obligations and waking up one morning with a foreclosure notice nailed to their door. How can we prevent that? How can we adjust that? Well, first and foremost, we think that one of the issues is figuring out a better way to fund paying for our schools. We have now heaved that burden on the back of property owners, and we need to relieve that. We feel that if the state looks at either a value-added tax or a personal income tax and spreads the cost of financing schools onto everyone and not just to the property owners, we think that the foreclosure rate in Ulster County would dramatically reduce. So our focus for the next few years is this support program, and we will see how it will play in Albany, but right now we are getting tremendous response to it, and hopefully we'll be able to report back to you in the near future that all of our property taxes have gone down.
Great, thank you, Elliot. Our next question is going to be for our highway superintendents. And the question is, what highway superintendents do? Are there any issues related to local roads, streets, or highways where you would have any decision-making powers as highway superintendents? What a surprise. And we're going to start with Fred on this one.
What does a highway superintendent do? It most definitely the public safety. Your public safety, the roads you drive, the bridges you travel are the most important things that a highway superintendent will do. In the last couple of years that Chris has been in office, I understand that he's been given the Department of Public Works, and I understand that's a very important part. I do believe that the very most important thing, again, is public safety, the roads you travel, the bridges you cross. Our legislator has mentioned sales tax, and I understand that I'll be chastised for this, and I understand that the Carmine-Liberta Bridge is a county bridge. I understand that. I built it. I understand that. But it is a vital part of our community. We talk about bringing sales tax into the community. It's the gateway to our community. Everyone sees it. Everyone drives over it. Everybody shakes when they drive across it. I believe that that's a very big priority. Susan was a legislator for a very long time. I believe that that could have been taken care of years ago if she would have coordinated with the county. And I believe that my contacts with the county, other townships, that will be done, and your public safety will be ensured. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Fred. Chris, would you like to take the same question? Do you want me to reread it? Or?
No. What does a highway superintendent do? We do everything from the safety aspect of all roads, the fiscal aspect of all roads, rebuilding, come up with a rebuilding plan, the one we currently have in effect. In 15 years, we've been done reconstructing all the roads in New Paltz and be able to go into drawing a blank here. I'll come back to it. The things another part of the highway superintendent, what they do is we sit on committees. We're involved with other parts of the town that don't just have to do with the roads. I sit on 3 boards or 3 committees. New York Rising, which is dealing with the Carmine-Liberta Bridge now as one of our infrastructure problems. We're also dealing with the bike ped to get safe bike trails and paths in our town, make correct walking. Another one is sustainable water. Everything you do travels on our roads. The safety is the most important part, but we also need a plan for rebuilding. And it's maintenance I was trying to come to. In 15 years, we'll go out of the rebuilding into a maintenance program and be able to cut our budget in half. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chris. The next question will be for our town and family court justices. And the question is, please explain how town and county courts differ. What kinds of cases usually come before town courts versus county ones? And we'll start with Marianne, please.
Family? Hello? Okay. Family court is a court of limited jurisdiction. We're totally governed by what the legislation is, and I can only handle those matters that are specifically delineated in the statute. I said in my earlier comments those types of cases that I cover. It's the neglect and abuse, custody and visitation, domestic violence, the acts against children, which are the PINs, persons in need of supervision, that's if they're truant or not incorrigible in the schools and home, and the juvenile delinquents, those children that have committed acts which, if committed by an adult, would constitute a crime. The other county court is the county criminal court. That handles the higher level, and our town justices could probably respond to that better, the higher level of criminal acts, and it's countywide, from all courts, you know, the murders, the higher level of crimes. I'll allow the town justices to speak about what each town does. And I don't know if I've answered the question adequately, but that's basically where we're at. Supreme Court is another court that is that's statewide jurisdiction, but it's has pockets for each county, and that handles, and it's a court of general jurisdiction, and it covers any type of action that you can possibly bring. They technically could handle family court matters as well, except that my court exists. They handle real estate boundary disputes, the divorces. They handle negligence in terms of, you know, car accidents or those kinds of where there's damage issues. I've already spoken about real estate. So that's where you would go if you had that kind of an issue.
Great, thank you very much, Mary Ann, I appreciate that. And just as a reminder, this is an informational forum, so we appreciate the information, thank you. So we're gonna go to our two town justices, and we'll start with Jonathan.
New York has a very complicated system of courts. In upstate New York, we have the town courts and the village court. Every town in the state of New York has a justice court, so there are 2,700 town justices. And what we do initially is we handle all the traffic cases, so every one of you gets a speeding ticket. Whatever happens to be, those cases come to us. We handle all of the misdemeanor prosecutions primarily. In New Paltz, those are driving while intoxicated cases. Lots of assaults from the bars, some drug cases. And as Judge Mizell said, if there are murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, those serious felonies will eventually be heard in our county court. But those cases are all before us as town justices initially. So the first thing we will do is typically we're called out in the middle of the night, so we arraign the defendant, which means we tell them what their rights are, and then we have an obligation to determine whether bail should be set. Obviously, for those serious crimes, bail is going to be set. We have the obligation to remand those people to the Ulster County Jail. The towns do not have lockups, so everyone who the police want to be incarcerated after being accused of a crime, they come to us to obtain an order so that the individual can be admitted into the Ulster County Jail. Also, with respect to the felonies, we conduct. If somebody had said to me that anybody was going to ask about jurisdiction in our courts, I would have said it would be the last thing I thought anybody would want to speak about. So it's something that I avoid. In any event, we handle all of the misdemeanor prosecutions. We handle all of the violations. We have all the traffic cases, all of the landlord and tenant, and all of the small claims. And then county courts handle the felony prosecutions. Family court handles the custody, visitation, and the other things that Judge Mizell talked about. And Supreme Court handles everything else.
Great, thank you very much.
Is anybody still awake?
Thank you very much, Jonathan. And we're going to go to, Richard, if you'd also take that question, thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, I don't have a lot to add to what Judge Katz has said. I would point out that your justice court is traditionally and primarily the court closest to the people. It's closest to you, it's closest to me, whereas I think in county court, things can tend to become more protracted. Your justice court is the place that you can go to resolve disputes among our citizens and our neighbors in a relatively quick and hopefully painless fashion. The only other thing that I didn't hear was the fact that perhaps some of you are still looking to get married, and you can always come down to the local justice court where Judge Katz is and hitch your wagon to one another. I think you don't quite find that in county court. But otherwise, nothing else to add. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Richard. And we're going to take some questions. Okay, we're going to go back to the town supervisor and board candidates. And the question is, what is your understanding of the most recent town/village consolidation proposal? Do you support or oppose the proposal, and explain why? And I think this time we'll start with Susan.
I've said it many, many a time that I always believe that we're one community. And I think if you ask anybody where the village ends and the town starts, I don't think probably many people know. Like when you're driving down Main Street and all of a sudden you get to Ulster Savings Bank and you cross over to the next road and you say, oh my God, I'm in the village. I believe we're one community. I think if we weren't one community, the problems with Woodland Pond and your next door neighbors would have never have happened. And so I do believe that we should be one government and we should be one community. The process to try to get there should have been a lot cleaner and smoother, but you had people who were very, very against it, that I personally, when my opponent talks about the discourse in the conversation, wasn't the people who were trying to get the answers and trying to deliver the truth to the community. David Lent was chairing the committee I was on, okay? And now the people that are running against me are criticizing us for the work that we did. It was David Lent's committee. I worked with him. We presented this stuff to the community. We all worked together very, very well. The people that are against it were the ones that were criticizing, creating the problems. I think at the end of the day, we need to do the work. We need to present it to the community. We need to find out the best way to present one government, whether it's a town, whether it's a village form of government, doesn't matter. I'm not married to any form. I'm married to one community, planning together, providing together, saving money, and ultimately the voters are the ones who should determine what the future of their community is, not the few politicians that are elected to sit at the table to decide what works for them. And that's what happened. People stopping it for personal agendas, not putting the community first.
Thank you, Susan. Randall, would you like to take the same question?
Yeah, sure. You know, we've spent thousands of dollars on the consolidation process, and we've had meetings after meetings, and people have weighed in pros and cons, and I think a lot of the concern in the community is that people aren't getting the information that they need in order to make an informed decision about consolidation. I started when I ran 2 years ago for town board. You know, I believe that consolidation was a good idea. I still believe the thought of consolidation is a good idea. But the question is, consolidation comes in many forms, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's merging the two governments. It could be merging services. It could be done a little bit at a time. We need to be very, very mindful about how we present information to the public with respect to consolidation, so that they have the information that they need in order to make an informed choice about how they want to govern themselves.
Great, thank you very much. We'll go next to Jeff. You want to take that same question, please? If you can pass the mic down, that'd be great.
I think consolidation, I know it's new to many of you because some of you have just moved here recently. Consolidation discussions have been in our community for a long time. They've been around since 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. There's been a couple of votes on them. 70s we had votes on them, 80s, so it's been around. The current consolidation, there is no one here that, or anyone that currently holds office, that could state that it is something that you could be for or against, because we simply do not have the information on it. The information was produced in the last studies. There was no accurate information that was produced and could be given out to the public or even to board members and explained. So it's not a for or against. What consolidation really comes down to is delivery of services. We need to decide as a community, are we doing the delivery of services in the most efficient, cost-effective, and fair way. Using the example of Chris Marks right here, and with Susan here, we looked at several of our departments. We had an opportunity with our water and sewer department when the head of that was leaving in the town. We have a small water and sewer district in the town. We took advantage of that and combined our water and sewer employees with Chris Marks' highway department. He didn't have to do it. He decided he would take it on for no extra remuneration, and it's been working fantastic. We're saving money and having much more efficient operations. So that's the example. So am I for that? Absolutely. So that's the discussion we need to move to, is how do we feel about the efficiency and the fairness of the services that we're providing to the community. Then we can start having more dialogue about it. It's not over. We're still looking at other departments to put together. That's how I feel. So it's not a for or against right now. Right now it's let's just keep discussing and going to where we are and be efficient.
Great, thank you, Jeff. And Ray, would you like to take the same question, please?
2 years ago, I was for consolidation. I don't oppose it, but consolidation for New Paltz is like two magnets getting close to each other. The closer they get, the more they oppose each other. This town and the village have consolidated over the last couple of decades, I guess. The police department, we only have one. We have one fire department. We have one ambulance squad. We currently, the DEP wants to turn off the water of the aqueduct for the village, which also supplies water to the town. The DEP is allowing and helping the town and village consolidate the water system by seeking out wells, especially out at the fairgrounds. So over time, consolidation is just the natural course of the town and village. But to force consolidation, I find that for every one question answered, two more arise. So, but if consolidation did go for a referendum for the people, I would support it, and then the people would decide. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ray. Dan, would you like to take the same question, please?
I did my senior thesis at Marist College on municipal consolidation. So we've talked about the idea that this issue's come up before, and it has. We've had two previous votes on this, one in 1966 and one in 1993. Both of them actually were about dissolving the village of New Paltz as opposed to consolidating. This is not a simple discussion by any means. A lot of people say, well, you have two, you turn it to one, you save something. Well, it's not as easy as that. You can't necessarily say if you're for or against something like that. If you look at Ellenville and Mewarcy, for example, there's a place where you have two judicial courts. Some towns have two different police forces as well. We've gotten rid of that in New Paltz quite some time ago, in fact. So when we talk about other communities that have seen savings, you have to take into account that each community is very different. We still have a lot of questions here. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these questions that we have today, we also had in 1966. I'm for having a vote and letting people decide, but I'm also for giving people the answers that they need so they can make an educated vote as well. So I want to work on this, I want to work with the community on this, and I want to make sure that we can answer these questions so that we can have an educated vote, and whatever our community decides is what we do. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Dan. The next question is still for the supervisors and board candidates. What do you propose doing about the traffic problem in New Paltz? And we'll start with Randall this time.
I've been looking at the transportation land use study that was done back in 2006. And one of the surveys that was done indicated that traffic was a huge, huge problem in the community. And if you've been out on the roads the past couple of days, you've seen that traffic has been backed up from traffic light to traffic light from all the leaf lookers. One of the things that I'd like to do as supervisor is dust off that report and sit down with folks and look at the ideas that were presented originally and see if there are any that we can implement that everybody would be okay with. But as far as traffic is concerned, there are two issues for me. The first is I think we need to figure out a way to get people off our roads. And one of the things that I was thinking about as it relates to the traffic was perhaps we could somehow implement a shuttle so that when people come for our festivals and for leaf looking, that we direct them perhaps to park at the park and ride and use the loop bus to transport them to downtown and then further on to the fairgrounds. And, you know, we can direct people to park, for example, at the college when school is out, because most of the traffic comes during the summer months when we have a lot of the festivals. So those are some of the ideas that I had with respect to traffic. Other than the traffic itself, it is a huge pollution problem in the community, and that is something else that we should look at as we think about keeping it moving, because idling cars is a huge danger with mobile source pollution and the evaporative emissions that come from automobiles during particularly the summer months.
Great, thank you very much, Randall. Susan, same question?
Well, I'm going to try to jog Legislator Rodriguez's memory, because we actually did do a shuttle bus. Actually, I think when I was supervisor the last time, we've been around for so long, when I was supervisor last time, which was from 96 to 2000, we actually did do a shuttle bus, and we had it up at the Thruway to take people downtown, and we were working with the county to make that happen. And it just wasn't used enough for the county to basically allow it to keep continuing. We should probably try it again, absolutely, but it's not a new idea. I will actually quote my colleague, Jeff Logan, who the other day actually commented to me and said, "Traffic? Why is that bad?" He owns a local cheese shop downtown, and he talks about all of that traffic turning into revenue for all of our downtown businesses and all of the people who make our community what New Paltz is. And yes, I lived west of the Wallkill. I'm going to be moving actually up towards Burley Road in the next month, but I've lived west of the Wallkill for 25 years. I know what the traffic is like. Trust me, it's really hard. But at the end of the day, look at the vibrancy of New Paltz. Look at this community during these really difficult economic times. We're one of the few communities that have really not gone through such terrible times. That's because of all that traffic. Not an easy answer. Those of us who live here know sort of how to get around. And the biggest issue, truth be told, the only way we're going to alleviate the traffic is if we build another bridge over the Wallkill River. And you tell me what resident of New Paltz wants to give up their land and have bridges go over that way. When you find the residents and we get the people who are going to give us the land and let us build the bridge, that's when we'll end up solving the problem. Or getting a thruway entrance in Gardner. So let's get the state to get us a thruway entrance so people can get off from Gardner and go straight up to the mountains. And I still hope that they come back to New Paltz to eat dinner and shop in our stores.
Great, thank you very much, Susan. Ray, would you like to take that question? Thank you.
Traffic, you know, on the other side of the river, like Susan was saying, I come down to Mountain Rest Road and there was a line of cars right up to Mountain Rest Road, and I couldn't see 299, but I'm sure it went all the way out to Butterville. So, you know, I had company coming over, I had to get a couple of steaks and some beer, so I was destined to go to ShopRite. So as a community resident, I know how to get around these things. I went up to Rosendale, I cut across on the 32, I stopped and put a couple of signs out, I went by Chris Mark's house, I come down by Woodland Pond, I made it to ShopRite. And then, hey, you know, I like cruising through town. It's kind of a cool little town. It's more of a sightseeing thing for me, so I'll actually go into the traffic just to see what's going on. And if I see somebody I know, I'll park and maybe we'll go into P&G's, or I've actually been in Jeff's Cheese Shop. So as far as traffic goes, it's how you look at it. I look at it as a positive thing for this town. When there's traffic around here, all the farms are selling pumpkins, people are picking apples. It's an economic boom for us. If you don't like traffic, don't go out on the weekends, go out on the weekdays. So we all know Henry W. Du Bois. There's little areas you can get around if you know the neighborhood. And if you don't know the neighborhood, ask me. I'll tell you how to get around. All right, thanks.
Great, thank you, Ray. Jeff, the same question, please.
I I guess for disclosure, yes, I do own a business in this community which benefits from traffic, and as Susan said, and I've said before, traffic is not a problem, it's a blessing. And we have the president of the chamber here, and I think you would concur that it's the economic engine that makes this community. We didn't just have over 20,000 vehicles come into our community last weekend over Columbus Day weekend to buy t-shirts. They came in this community to go everything that we hold dear, which is west of the Wallkill. The open spaces, the beautiful vistas, the pumpkins, everything else you can get in this community, and then come in and enjoy our community. I'm old enough to remember we used to have 2 traffic lights in this community. I see some people nodding their heads. We had 2 traffic lights in the whole community. We have 3 times that now. We have certainly gotten a lot further from where we were even in the 70s. This is what drives our community though. So the solution to the traffic actually was on a road that was right here. Actually, Henry W. Du Bois was originally built to be a bypass for New Paltz. Something went terribly wrong at some point and it became a residential road. Henry was actually mayor in the village, actually. He was one of our great builders of our community here. There is no, so to speak, solution because without this traffic, this community would not be what it is. You cannot be able to go down and enjoy what we have in this community. All of the arts that are provided in this community, the open spaces in this community would not exist if it wasn't for this traffic. As Ray has said, you need to plan your trips. You drive downtown in the afternoons and uptown in the mornings on the weekends. Or figure out when to get to beer and steaks later on, not on the weekends when you're having company. So again, I'm glad you all moved here, and I hope you all realize the traffic. For those of you who moved here, realize the traffic is here, mostly on weekends and holiday weekends, and you can figure it out. And again, yes, if you need help navigating it, please feel free to give us a call. But also I do see the Woodland Ponds bus, and it goes out, and the loop that the Woodland Ponds bus runs around the community seem to navigate it pretty well. I see a lot of people nodding because I do see it out and about. So if that's something we can help to with navigating with the bus or times, please give a call out to our town hall, and I'm sure the supervisor's office would help.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Dan, would you like to address that as well?
Well, it's rare at a political forum that so many people agree on a single issue. But just this weekend, actually, I went on over to Dressel Farms, which was a lot of fun, but some could argue a mistake as well. And there was nowhere to park. The road was backed up. It took forever to get in. But I actually had this thought to myself, too, that the real danger is if we don't have traffic. Now, I think it's very important to buy local. I often do that because, frankly, I think you get better products, and it's great to see our money stay here. So I'm on Main Street a lot, and a lot of times during peak hours as well. There are communities that neighbor us or in our county that don't have this issue, and that's a problem. So I'm all for looking at studies to see how we can alleviate the issue, and I'd like to see us continue to use our public transportation. But I think we all agree that it really is also a blessing that we have so many people that want to be here, that want to shop here and spend their money here.
Great, thank you very much, Dan. We're going to pause for a second just so we can get some other questions in. All right, this is going to be the last question, and it's going to be a question for Hector. If you could pass him down the microphone, we put him on the spot there. It says, we've been waiting a long time for the loop bus, but winter may not be the right time for a trial run. When do you think that's going to happen?
You guys never put me on the spot, so it's not a problem. In terms of getting this started, we've been pushing for this for a while, And we've encountered just, again, it's just sometimes government does not work as fast as we hope it does. I think at this point, I think it's more important that we get the partners on board. And that's, there's a partnership that pays for the loop bus. Remember, it's actually being paid for by SUNY New Paltz. They pay for the gas, they pay for students. The town pays, I believe, is it subsidized or is it actually 100% for seniors? I always forget whether it's just highly subsidized or is it actually 100% for seniors. So the town pays 100% for seniors to go and ride the loop bus. I'm getting older and more forgetful, so I have to look to my friends. However, in terms of getting this started, right now I wanted to move 2 years ago. And so right now I want to get this thing started as soon as possible. Hopefully by the end of the fall. If not, then I think we'll probably end up having a conversation with the town and with the partnership probably in the spring to basically have it start in spring.
Great, thank you very much.
As Susan likes to remind me, apparently she's over here chastising me. We served together for 8 years, and apparently she thinks she can still do this to me. But the meeting's in 2 weeks.
Dorothy, can I see you 1 second? Okay, we're going to go to closing comments now because you've all been very patient and very good listeners and a great audience. We appreciate that. We're going to start with Randall, and he's going to give us our closing comments. Okay, I'll give you a second to get your stuff together and put you on the spot there.
While my personal journey is nowhere as storied as my cousin Dude's, he's always been an example for me. His establishment of a community development center that helped establish healthcare and housing in Baltimore is what led me to study community economic development as a graduate student and volunteer in a similar capacity. I had many advantages he didn't have, yet his desire to give and to do for others guides me this day. From the very beginning, I've said that the only way to have a good government is if it is managed effectively. We seem to spend more time on the politics of government than the management of it, and then look around for places to lay blame for our failures. Yes, sorry. As town supervisor, I will provide an easily understood budget that can be easily digested by anyone who cares to examine it. Some might say that this takes no vision, but efficient government enables every other cog in the wheel to work to its fullest potential. Transparency will ensure that village and town taxpayers pay only for services they receive. Transparency empowers your town board so it can have debates about the direction of your government and the resources it needs to accomplish its objectives. Transparency will show us where we earn our money and how we spend it so that it will alert us to problems and anomalies in our government. These aren't inconsequential, useless, or silly concepts. Proper budgeting will ensure we are not asking for money we don't absolutely need. As supervisor, I will focus on true economic development so that we identify the types of businesses we want and bring good jobs to New Paltz. It's important that we enhance our commercial tax base to relieve some of the burden off of our homeowners. However, our commercial appeal must be community-friendly, environmentally sound, and sustainable. We need to work as a community to bring business here to create real jobs. And any business that wants a pilot should create jobs and be held accountable if they don't live up to the spirit of why pilots are given. And if they can't, they should lose their exemptions. I want us to focus on ways to rebuild and find a common ground with each other so that we can have a more participatory, collaborative government. We can disagree without being disagreeable. I want to help people, not political points of view. Most importantly, no one who offers ideas or opinions should ever feel they've been ignored or marginalized. We can start with the consolidation process. The public needs all the facts. Its trust needs to be re-earned. because it has been lost. That's not good when we may embark on a journey that seeks perhaps to change the course of how we govern ourselves. John Quincy Adams once said, "If your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." I intend to find inspiration, dream, learn, do, and become more with New Paltz. Thank you for your hospitality, and I hope we can count on your support on November the 5th.
Great, thank you very much, Randall. Susan?
I'm going to take a lesson from my good friend John Katz, the best judge out there. And just because somebody
No,
served...
that's not true. Judge Mizell.
Oh, well, you're on a different level. No, look, we cross-endorsed you, so we know you're wonderful. And, but John, you're on a local level. And just because John Katz served for 18 years doesn't mean it's time to replace him. You know, just because we're getting older, does that mean we should all be replaced? I don't think that's a good enough reason to replace somebody, okay? So 18 years, we turn him for another 4 years, he's a great judge. And quite frankly, everybody sitting up here who's running on the Democratic ticket, I am absolutely honored to be running with them. They are a bunch of great candidates. I'm looking forward to serving with all of them. And please return all the Democrats back to office. Some of us are a working family, some of us are also on the independence line. So, you know, it's really easy to sit and criticize and say things. Now, I spent all day today writing my 5-minute speech, you know, studying it, whatever, timing it. So I'm going to throw it away, but there's still one great line that I just can't throw away. I started out as a VP at a large advertising agency and gave that up to move to New Paltz, raise a family, and dedicate myself to public service. My opponent has spent his life in the corporate world. Managing a budget in the corporate world is all about maximizing profits. Managing a budget on a municipal level is all about protecting the taxpayers. As someone who has done municipal budgets in 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2013, and 2014, I have experience, I've done it. It's not smoke and mirrors, it's been confirmed by the controller that my budgets are damn good. Okay, so just very quickly, this last budget that we just produced in 2013 with myself and Jeff Logan, we cut $250,000 from our medical benefits. But we didn't take services away from anybody. $250,000. We saved $200,000 when we merged the town building department and the highway department, and we're getting better services. That's an awful lot of money. And that's how we were able to reduce the 2013 budget by 4.4%. Not smoke and mirrors. This was real hard work, rolling up our sleeves, and Jeff and Councilman Barry spent a lot of time on the medical stuff to make sure that we could provide the services to our employees, but save the money to you, the taxpayers. I didn't deliver the 2012 budget, but I managed it. And we managed it so well, we saved over $600,000 to $700,000 this past year. That's the money we're returning back to you. Not smoke, mirrors, or whatever. That's real money. Also, the police retirement was reduced from $600,000 down to $160,000, a staggering amount. I called the state to say, how could that be reduced so much? Part of it is Governor Cuomo and the different tiers, but part of it's because of the mismanagement in the past that ended up having us have a really large bill for our police retirement. So it was reduced $400,000 or $500,000. If we kept all that money in the bank, we would be going against the controller's guideline. So we needed to return to you, because that's your money, not our money, because you were overtaxed, plain and simple. Again, no smoke and mirrors. Now, if somebody really knew how to read the budget, they would understand that A, the budget is done by the controller. Dave Len did the budget the same way I do the budget. Over 10, 15, 20 years, it's the way the controller tells us to do it. So there's a line that shows the supervisor's, total line. And you just have to look at it. But you have to pick up the phone and call and ask for the worksheets to see that actually my salary is going down, not up. So here we have somebody sitting here and telling you, oh, Susan's getting more money. No, please, if that's the way he does budgets, I'm really, really nervous, okay? So, you've got to do your homework, you've got to understand, you've got to look at the facts, you just can't talk. Again, you have to look at the facts before you put it out to the public. It's all there, it's all clear, and we, as a town board, will be going over every single worksheet, every single line, starting Thursday night at our town board meeting. Every worksheet that delivered that budget will be out there. Every line can be looked at, and you can all see together as we put the budget together, and the town board reviews it. So you don't have to worry with me as your supervisor that I will ever raise your taxes as is being alluded, or that I'm playing smoke and mirrors. I really, really know what I'm doing. That's why people keep re-electing me as a supervisor. That's why I have Democrats and Republicans still supporting me and asking me to please stay as your supervisor. But there's more to just the budget. There's also how do we manage our community? How do we keep it environmentally safe, sound? We're doing that. We have some exciting things coming forward on a whole solar renewable community. How we're going to make ourselves a model in the community. Bike paths. I think tomorrow we're going to find out we're getting a grant for a bike path that we're trying to create from the village down to the mountain. A lot of good things are happening. We've done great things.
Great.
We actually really will get along. Hope to see you here next year. I'll be back with a bunch of times.
Great, thank you very much, Susan, thank you very much. And I'd just like to thank all of our candidates this evening for doing a great job and for giving us a lot of great information and a lot to think about. And I just want to pick on something Dan said about buying local. And I think we need to vote local as well. There's no more power that you have than when you're electing local officials that directly affect your life. You know, we can talk about all the stuff going on in Washington, but right here, right in this room, you have more power than anybody else out there. So you really need to use that right to vote and support your local community and buy local. And I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight, and I want to thank Dorothy for putting on such a great job here.
And I would like to thank Frank Curcio for hosting this, well, what is it, moderating. You did a terrific job, and I thank you all for your patience. We kept you a long time, and I forgot to give you stretching time.